Hi. So my name is Vanessa Rhinesmith. I'm actually a social media manager for a PR firm based out of New York City. I'm also the communications and community manager for an eco-fashion startup that's based out of Boston, Proxy Apparel. And we actually employ a all-women cooperative based out of Guatemala. So kind of going back to what Chris was talking about in terms of sort of social entrepreneurship and the importance of that. So when I was initially sort of thinking of this whole idea of sparking creativity, I had to really just think about how do I spark my own creativity? And the reality is, kind of like Michael was sleeping, most of my ideas seem to always happen while I'm in the shower. Not always the most convenient of times. And I sort of wanted to dive deeper into that and figuring if I could figure out what exactly was happening there. Like, why is it when you're taking a shower or walking the dog or going to grab a cup of coffee, all of a sudden you have that answer to that problem that you've been beating your head against the wall for so long? And the good news is there's actually a reason for that. And sort of understanding the reasoning behind that, you can harness it and hopefully have it sort of benefit you in times when it's far more convenient than necessarily on your Saturday morning when you're trying to start your day. So it's this whole idea of cognitive distance. And so the idea of it is if you physically separate yourself from a problem that you've been working on for hours on end, you have this opportunity to really look at it in far more innovative and creative ways by having that distance. And the nice thing is we've seen some office environments really take advantage of that. So Google's always a great example. I mean, they have a room where you can do your laundry, you can go play video games. I mean, they've set up their culture and their space to work off of that, and as a result, they get a lot of creative productivity out of their employees. Tom's Shoes is also another great example. It's rooted in their culture. You have this opportunity and you're encouraged to take a break and go ride a bike, or take your lunch and go surfing. And as a result, again, you get this boost in creativity and productivity. One of the things that we sort of talked about is it's hard to sort of establish that in more traditional environments. And I think it's important to note that we either associate ourselves as being creative or not creative. And we either work in an environment that's creative or not creative. But that tends to be so limiting because we're defining what we can and cannot do. And even if your industry is not necessarily a traditional creative space, you still benefit from innovative problem solving. I mean, if you didn't look at a problem or try to create a product or do something differently, you would never get ahead. I mean, you never sort of would be a little bit better than your competition or do something in a new way that solved a new type of problem. And so, I think it's important to look at organizations like Google, but say, how do we harness some of what they're doing and this idea of separating yourselves from a problem and utilize it in our everyday? And so while maybe it's not realistic to say, I'm going to take a 10-minute break and go play Guitar Hero for the next 45 minutes or something so that I can come back and tackle this problem, what it is realistic is you can have mental separation. And a great example of that, a friend of mine worked for a philanthropic foundation out in Portland, Oregon. And what they instituted was this idea that everybody would take 10% of their time allocated to them during the week, and they would do something that had nothing to do with the work that they were doing. They didn't physically separate themselves. They were still at the office, but they were encouraged to read publications that they liked, have coffee or have conversations about things that had nothing to do with their work. And what they found is they had this opportunity to not only sort of enhance their own knowledge, but also collectively enhance knowledge because they all came back and had an opportunity to knowledge share amongst one another. And what they found, and what was surprising, I think, to them when it initially started to happen, is that they were able to solve problems and to do things in ways that they didn't necessarily think of sort of the first time around. And they were pulling from different spaces that had nothing to do with the work that they did, just by taking a moment to breathe sort of outside of their space and think sort of outside of the box, as we kind of always talk hand in hand with creativity. I think the other thing, is sort of what makes something like cognitive separation so appealing, and why when we're in the shower we have that aha moment, is it's also safe. And I think, we've had a lot of talk about creativity tonight, but I think we also have to talk about it in terms of not being afraid and not being afraid of failure. And so often that goes so hand in hand. And we really limit ourselves by not being willing to take chances. And I think often, whether it's cultural, in terms of the environment we're in, or the industry we're in, or our professional goals, or our personal expectations, we're not willing to just sort of throw everything we have in an idea and just say, let's just throw it all out there regardless of what people think, what we can solve. So, I think it's a really powerful thing. And so being able to separate ourselves from both fear and separate ourselves from the problems and the tasks we're trying to solve, we have this huge opportunity to cultivate, I think, creativity in a much more sustainable way if we're trying to integrate it into our everyday life, and something that you could literally go to work tomorrow and try to put into practice, whether you decide to grab coffee with somebody, or if you just say, you know what, I'm going to throw 5 ideas out there regardless of what people think. And I guess if worse comes to worse, you can always just plan in that shower the next morning to have that awesome idea. So thank you.